Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creating Your New World. I'm your host, Bill Hunsaker, and I would like to welcome my friends and panel members. First up, Sage Katakura, great
Hey
friend of
guys.
mine.
Hey Bill.
And second, for the first time on this show, Larry Johnson. Welcome, Larry.
Yeah, welcome, Bill. Good morning.
And also Harry Dolgen. Welcome, Harry.
Hi, Bill. Hi, guys. Nice to be on.
Harry.
Okay, this show is about a new world, a world of the 12 Visions world, a world of freedom, wealth, health, and peace, a world that we can create ourselves, and that we are working toward creating. And we welcome anyone who watches this show to work toward creating this world in any way they wish to. The world was first described by author and entrepreneur Mark Hamilton, who thought about a world without initiatory force and wrote out the result in a book called 12 Visions. And the 12 visions he came up with were: vision number 1, become the person you were meant to be; vision number 2, live the life you were meant to live; vision number 3, feel extraordinary; vision 4, stop aging; vision 5, get the job of your dreams; vision 6, start the company you always wanted; vision 7, embrace the lover of your fantasies; vision 8, diet down to the body you always envied; vision 9, become a genius; vision 10, surround yourself with geniuses; vision 11, ride a prosperity wave that will make you a millionaire; and vision 12, enjoy nearly perfect physical and mental health. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it?
Utopia.
Right now it's just an idea, but it's something we can all create together. And I look forward to the world, but just as much I look forward to creating it.
That's awesome.
In the last episode, we looked at Vision 12, so we're going to be moving on to something new. Mark Hamilton also wrote a novel called the Miss Annabelle Story, or The Super Puzzle. And in that novel, he describes how the 12 Visions world could be created. In this story, it's a story of 12 children and a very unusual teacher who basically teaches them to take charge of their lives, take full responsibility for their lives, and shares reality with them rather than a state approved or school board approved curriculum.
Right.
And basically gives them all the tools and tells them to live their dream. And these 12 people grow up and become leaders in the fields they choose to go into. And there three of them, at the point in this where the story begins, have been nominated to receive Nobel Prizes in their chosen fields. And one of them is running for president. And we're introduced to this world through a character named Jake, who is a journalism student, and is doing a story on these people that are getting have been nominated for the Nobel Prize, and also on the gentleman who's running for president. And in researching this story, he finds out that they all attended one school, and then he finds out that they all were in one class with this very unusual teacher. And over the course of that time, he brings them together, and they sit down and talk to each other and decide to create the 12 Visions world. And then they actually go and accomplish that. It's a wonderful story that shows how this can be done. And then finally, the story describes what it's like to live in the 12 Visions world. And I want to share one passage from that part. So there are several of the people, and I have to reread this story. I apologize, I haven't done so already. But so I can't give you the full background on the characters in the story. I will be able to over the next few episodes. But basically, what these people who became very much best friends continue to gather together, you know, and share their lives and their families and just enjoy being together.
Right.
And this describes one such gathering. And I will say that, you know, the main characters are Jake and Jasmine. Jasmine was Jake's girlfriend at the beginning of the story, and they eventually got married, and they're now married. And they work together both. He works in, you know, he's a reporter and a journalist, and that's his job. But he's also become very good friends with all of these people over the course of the story. So now I'm going to read the passage. It says, the monthly get-togethers at Rico's house. Rico is one of the 12 people. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to interrupt the narrative to explain a few things because this is the first time we're reading this.
Doing great.
Yep. We're also wonderful social gatherings and had expanded into monthly weekends together. Rico and Olivia loved hosting the weekends, although everyone offered to host. But Rico and his wife genuinely loved doing it, and everyone loved Rico's house and gardens in the country. Every meeting since the reunion, when Jasmine and Jake flew down to Rico's from Boston University, Jasmine always thought of her dad and how much he would have loved these meetings. Often when she listened to Rico talk, his loving nature made her remember her father. At first, after her loss, she felt sad listening to Rico, remembering her father and the love they were robbed of. Now she loved listening to Rico and remembering her father. She loved watching Rico's powerful paternal nature. She loved hearing the unspoken words in his voice whenever he talked to his Monica, who was 16 now. Jasmine could always hear in the sweetness of his voice Rico silently saying to his teenager, "I love you, sugar pie." Today the sky was bright blue and the temperature was in the mid-70s. Jake and Jasmine walked through Olivia's gardens with Miss Annabelle. And of course, Miss Annabelle is the teacher that taught the 12 children. The young couple was unusually excited. They were asking Miss Annabelle questions about raising a genius, just like the title of her bestseller, for Jake and Jasmine were going to have a baby. Jasmine was among the last wave of women who would need to endure pregnancy. Excuse me. Several companies were selectively growing parents' babies in man-made placentas. The mortality rate of those external babies was nearly perfect. In other words, very few of them were dying. Jake bent down to look at an unusual flower, and hearing but not seeing Miss Annabelle, he noticed her voice did not carry the weary sound of a woman in her late 60s. Her voice carried youthful resonance as rich and full as a blossoming flower is in color and moisture. Jake leaned over the flowers. The sweet scent filled his lungs. Miss Annabelle's sweet voice filled his head. "I'd love to teach your child someday," she said. "Is it a boy or girl?" Jasmine answered that it was a boy, but Jake's mind ceased to hear the conversation. He could focus only on the thought of Miss Annabelle teaching his son. What a precious gift that would be. The three of them walked the garden paths back to the mansion. Inside, Jake saw that most members of the group had arrived. The group being, of course, the 12 people. He felt a jolt of joy upon seeing the members along with their spouses and children. Today, Jasmine would open the meeting. She and Jake would take down notes for a major full-section article the size of a small book to commemorate the Super Puzzle Group. The article would eventually appear in a special anniversary edition for the success of Operation 2. Operation 2 was an operation developed by one of the 12 who became a doctor, which allowed basically immortality. And we'll get more into that as in future episodes of the show. The banner across that anniversary edition would read, "Inside the group that started it all." The adults and teenagers gathered in the large informal meeting room. The children were taken to the play areas with the babysitters. Jake watched as Rosa, Rico Jr., and Tony gave Rico and Olivia hugs and headed off to the play areas. Look at how they've grown, Jake thought. Tony's now the same age Rico was in Miss Annabelle's class. And look at Monica. She's now a young woman who sits through our long meetings. Jake then noticed Daniel's son, Danny, saying bye to his dad and mom, Marcy. He looks about 10 or 11, Jake guessed. Danny ran after Rico Jr., yelling, Ricky, wait for me." It's amazing, Jake pondered while watching Danny Jr. run after Rico Jr. Will those two build super puzzles together someday, just like their dads? It dawned on Jake that only Rico and Daniel from the group had children, although Reggie and his wife Naomi were soon expecting their first. Jake specifically wondered why Robert and Natasha never had children despite being together now for 6 years. Jake also wondered about Ian and Diana, and Jake especially wondered about Theodore and Kathy, who had been together ever since becoming childhood sweethearts. What surprises me, he thought, is how much they love life, and especially children. Maybe they don't want to bring children into this mortal world, Jake thought, or maybe they can't get distracted from the super puzzle. Not yet. Comfortable chairs, love seats, and couches wrapped around the informal meeting room where they met this day. Today I want to ask each of you to take a few minutes to tell us what you love doing most now that living forever is given, Jasmine said to start the meeting. As Miss Annabelle's former students answered Jasmine's question, it became clear that what they loved doing most in life was what they were doing. But of course, Jake thought. His eyes widened. He was remembering his very first conversation with Jessie over 6 years before. Jessie was mopping the floors of Duncan Elementary. Jake was asking the receptionist questions about the Nobel Prize nominees, Sally, Theodore, and Ian. The quiet custodian, Jessie, approached the curious college student, Jake, and started telling him the story of Miss Annabelle and her students. And it was during that first conversation, Jake remembered, when Jessie told him about the first day of school starting the miracle year when the children told Miss Annabelle what they wanted to do when they grew up. And throughout the miracle year, the students showed strong interests such as Ian and the cosmos, Teddy in business, Sally in medicine, Bobby in job improvement, Natasha in relationship improvement, Reggie in music, Kathy in weight loss and beauty, Deborah in fast food marketing. But of course, Jake thought, you could spot their natural, deepest motivational roots, their Friday night essences, when they were just children. Today, 33 years later, most of them were doing what most interested them their whole lives, even as children, ever since the first day of 3rd grade. Growing up seeing below the surface, seeing what is, they never lost sight of their deepest motivational roots, and they naturally pursued what they loved most. Success and happiness and powerful family and romantic love came naturally to them. How elegantly simple, Jake thought. One after the other, the former students elaborated on their current ventures and growing puzzles of creation and their moving love for their families and friends. Jake saw how exciting their lives were and how happy this room was. When it was Miss Annabelle's turn to talk about what she loved doing most, she talked about her worldwide internet educational phenomenon that was by far the largest daily course of any kind in the world. Over 70 million children and nearly as many adults now logged on daily. It was more of a wise man tutor. Her general lecture of past electronically translated into most languages. But as Miss Annabelle talked about what she loved most, Jake noticed her expression somewhat distant, as if her thoughts were somewhere else. He heard a weariness he did not hear in the garden. She was describing her creation, but noticeably absent was the passion that filled her former students. Suddenly she stopped talking. She didn't say a word for several seconds. The silence raised everyone's concern. She then turned toward Jasmine and said, "When did you say Jake Jr. is due?" Miss Annabelle seemed to have forgotten what she had just been talking about. "July 31st, Jasmine said. "I'd really like to teach that boy," said Miss Annabelle. She looked at Reggie and Naomi and said, "And I'd really like to teach your little girl." She looked at Daniel and then Rico and said, "Oh, how I'd love to teach your children." She looked around the room at her former students. "Teaching the 12 of you was the last time I taught in person. Teaching the people I love brought me the happiest times in my life. I want to teach children to become part of their lives again." She paused to allow her thoughts to catch up to her emotions. "Of course, I'd always keep my internet school going. Teaching in the classroom would probably help me expand the value of my internet school. I stopped teaching before because I could not bear the thought of being torn from my students again, which was inevitable in the anti-civilization." The anti-civilization, by the way, is the world we live in now. Daniel smiled. It had been nearly 2 years since completing his great sale of government assets to private enterprises. The government no longer functioned beyond its proper purpose of protecting the peace, but a large trust fund had been set up after the sale to finance vouchers into a private educational system. America's moms could not, at first, let go of the security of government-guaranteed education. Now that the ruling class government had collapsed along with all external authorities, the fund still existed because it was a financial fund in a private banking system backed by covenants. And by the way, Daniel, whose full name is Daniel Ward, was the person who became the TVP president, just to make that clear. "I never wanted that big educational trust fund," Daniel said. "It works against rapid advancement, but the moms wanted a cushion. But do I see a real opportunity here?" "What are you thinking?" Theodore asked. He smiled, for he knew what Daniel was thinking. "Miss Annabelle's Schools of Geniuses," Daniel blurted. He displayed the same enthusiasm that often filled his voice in third grade, which made Jake smile and remember when third grader Danny fought a school bully to defend his teacher's honor. "Ted, what an investment," Daniel continued. "With the return of the teacher of the Children of the God-Man group, nearly all parents would send their children. The Miss Annabelle will teach in the flagship school, and our schools will be built on her system." "Yes," Theodore said, instantly making the idea sound. "In fact, that would be our goal, to teach every child. Of course, anyone could compete with us, but our results will keep the business in our schools." "Ah, I can see it now." Jake had seen this look in Theodore before and knew the brilliant man was deep in a creative place no one else could so quickly and effortlessly reach. Then Theodore continued. "Here's how we'll get all children. We'll let anyone come for free." "How could you possibly bankroll that?" Ian asked, rolling the logistics and numbers through his scientific brain. "Well, I'll give them an option. Parents can pay annually, which most will. But 95% of the advertisement will be built around this idea. We are so confident that the Miss Annabelle system will make your children become geniuses that we will be willing to pay for their private education, and when they become rich, they can repay us with interest. Since the world is so prosperous now, almost all the parents will pay now. But a small percentage down on their luck will take us up on the offer. So I can bankroll this all right. The power behind this is our confidence to make that offer. To put our money where our mouth is. If they don't get rich, they don't pay. With NeoThink, all our students will go on to become great value creators like us. The power behind our schools will be the return of the famous teacher of the children of the original Super Puzzle group. the teacher who invented Neothink education. Excuse me. Amazing, Jake thought. These people take every value put before them, such as Miss Annabelle's desire to return to the classroom, and maximize that value to its awesome potential, such as teaching every child with her system. And then Jake pondered, they follow up and make it happen. While Jake shook his head in awe over the nature of the first immortals, he realized the room had gotten quiet. Everyone was looking at Miss Annabelle. She was overwhelmed by Theodore's offer. She smiled at him. Her memory brought her back to her classroom 33 years earlier when Teddy was the classroom's little 9-year-old executive during their miracle year together. She could feel her heart throbbing. She knew the classroom was where she needed to be. Her eyes were laughing. Finally, after 33 years, she would return to the classroom. Teaching children one-on-one was her Friday night essence, and she could feel her deepest motivational root growing again inside. World-renowned Theodore Winters would spread his third-grade teacher's creation across the country and eventually around the world. Jasmine was writing furiously. This was a big story, and she knew it. Jake, you guys getting this? Al Patterson asked. Jake glanced around the room. Miss Annabelle's former students were all looking at her. Oh, the love Jake saw in their faces. They had that same wide-eyed expression a child has when his or her mom or dad is exceptionally excited about something. That special expression that shares in the parent's moment of joy and silently cries out, "I'm so glad you're happy. I love you, Mom." Jake focused on Al. The new educational paradigm for immortals. Neothink education, Jake said, answering Al. Then Jake looked at Daniel and added, "This is exciting and emotionally charged news. The media group will be a valuable vehicle to help us jump past the Educational Trust Fund into the much superior pure privatization by TED. Look at what we're offering the moms of America. The same teacher who taught the original 12 immortals who grew up to form the original Super Puzzle group will teach your children. I know how they'll emotionally react because I felt it when Miss Annabelle said she wanted to teach my son. She's every parent's heroine, every child's dream teacher. Now we add to that formula the biggest business hero of all time, Miss Annabelle's very own Theodore Winters. He'll buy the former public schools and turn them into Miss Annabelle's schools of geniuses. Miss Annabelle will then replicate her Neothink techniques to all the teachers in her schools. The moms will perceive this as a huge leap forward for their children and agree to jump past the trust fund into this possible scenario. Al, Jake turned to his boss. I'll outline and chart a media blitz. Al was nodding. Always coming through with the big picture, he said. That's why I love you.
Wow.
Yes. That's powerful stuff, and that's why I love this story.
Wow.
But there are a lot of things in there that I thought we could talk about. First of all, that shows everyone living the life they were meant to live in this world free of initiatory force, of government force, holding people down. Second of all, this shows business in the 12 Visions world in action. Business that is basically someone sitting down, having a great idea, and figuring out how to make it work in the best way possible, how to make it a great value.
Right.
And we also see something that will be very valuable in the Neothink world, which is Neothink education. Teaching children and also adults how to use their minds to achieve everything they want in life and take full control of their lives. And basically it shows that these people are living their essences and ecstatic and joyful because of it.
Wow.
Thank you, Bill. It reminds me of reminds me of that the things we can do now, even though we're in the anti-civilization, like you said. There's still so much we can apply. What do we love to do? What do you love to do that makes you excited like those kids? You know, their deepest motivational root. You were bringing me back to when I was a kid, and I was thinking of what little things I would do before growing up and going to college and having to do this and having to do that. I was doing stuff I liked to do. I used to just draw endlessly on a kitchen table with my brothers and sister, and I was happy.
Mm.
And yeah, it's whatever floats your boat. Are you really doing that right now? Are you really, utilizing that? Thank you for reminding me. I just was reminded more, and I've gone over this, but it helps every time to go over that and remember my path to happiness. It's right there. Just use it.
Wow.
Take it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It was a great passage, Bill, you read.
Hmm.
The thing is, this show creating a new world, the 12 Visions world, and it reminds me of what a Neil Think company that we have. I know Bill has a Neil Think company, and us and Sage has a Neil Think company, and it's creating those values that we are starting to create to live in the 12 Visions world now. By elevating the value of the Miss Annabelle story, where people could see it in real time and in reality of what we are creating.
Right.
We are creating products that we are looking to distribute to create that world. Trying to work on a project with end of the year in a school to bring the 12 visions to kids, understand, and bring the products that we are creating to them that we've learned. The thing is to take the Miss Annabelle story and bring it to life. And what we're trying to do in Ines is track those creations in a real way, so people, when they read something or a product that Ines or say Bill's company put out, they're not looking at an illusion. They're not looking at some made-up story. They're looking at a real time of something that was created in reality that helping build that 12 Visions world. And that's what I'm excited about.
Oh, thank you.
I have so many ideas of how we can bring to life the Miss Annabelle story. You know what I mean? And product wise, that people can say, wow, these people are real. We want to move from that. People who do not want to live in that anti-civilization.
I feel you are, Larry. You are one of the kids. You're one of the students. Bill, you're another one, and Harry. We're
Right.
actually we're walking the walk and creating these products, becoming that business, Teddy, that Theodore person in the flesh, and it's so exciting because it's not, who knows exactly how it's going to go. It's all laying out before us.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
It was stunning.
You're
Stunning,
creating
just
it.
stunning.
Yeah.
It was stunning. After the reading, just made me think back to what I loved to do when I was a little kid, walking through the woods and exploring.
Wow.
And can you imagine having a teacher like a Miss Annabelle who brings out the best in you, and you get individual attention, not like it is today, where you got 30 kids in a classroom and they teach you how to read, write, which is important. But imagine trying to teach you how to think and find your essence. I mean, it's so compelling, that reading, Bill, that
it is.
I was daydreaming back to when I was a kid.
It was so powerful.
Yeah,
And
right?
the listening of how Miss Annabelle really, the technique she used in her classroom every morning was very powerful, was the lecture
Right.
Hmm.
to those kids every morning, which made them stimulate their thinking process and
Right.
built in them. It got to the point where the parents would get upset when the kids didn't want to miss school if they were sick. Remember the Miss Annabelle story? I got to be to school. So then that made the parents want to come and see, well, why these kids want to go to school? Why they get upset and fight with me when they got to be out of school? And the parents starting to come to the school to see what was going on in there.
Yeah.
And they found out that this teacher, who was not only a beautiful woman, okay, but she was brilliant, and she was a Neil Think teacher. which made the difference.
Yeah, unfortunately, part of the story is that because she was teaching them about reality and not the illusions that the school board, the political people, and unfortunately also the parents of the children wanted their children to be taught. She was basically run out of the school, fired.
Mm-hmm.
Then she was attacked by a politician, a gentleman who was very corrupt and very evil, and then falsely accused of participating in the murder of that politician, convicted and imprisoned, and eventually had to leave the country because all of these neo-cheaters, these people who were using the illusions to falsely prosper on the backs of honest, people, couldn't stand the fact that she was showing these children reality and exposing their illusions for what they were. And basically, the children, as adults, came back together, and they had to create the 12 Visions world in order for Miss Annabelle to be able to return.
Yeah, her teaching of the conceptual thinking process, as rather than which is a puzzle building process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thought by thought, and these kids was learning that. They was learning how to do integrated thinking, how to look at a whole picture, and more than anything, as Bill just pointed out, to pierce through illusions, to see what they wanted out of life and be able to create that. If you really look and you have kids which right now in school and you have them write down what they want out of life, that becomes a reality in that kid's life. If they are taught how to, one, not conform, but how to think outside the box, how to be an individual, how to be a self-leader, they will excel. Rather than if they want to be a drummer or a musician or a writer, they will excel because they have put it on paper and they have defined at a very young age what it is they want to be. And the Miss Annabelle story lays that out so eloquently.
Thank you, Larry. I have no problem with the fact that it did, but this segment is running a little long, and I think it's wonderful. But we're going to go ahead and move on because we only have an hour for the show, and we're going to move on to a segment that's become a favorite of the panel members, which is called Where's the Force? And I decided to do something kind of simple so that we can see that in actuality it's really pretty complicated. And the subject for today is driving. Sage, where's the Force?
Okay, the Force. Thank you, Bill. I love this game. It's searching out where the Force is and the initiatory force that the prime law will prohibit to release naturally the prosperity wave that everybody would get. That's what it's so interesting. But this is in real world. How do we connect the dots? Driving. Everybody has to go through a certain involuntary registration of their vehicles, owned by the state, run by the state. And they have to, even when you pay your license fee to get your license renewed, you're paying them involuntarily. I didn't want to get my license renewed from the state of New Jersey. I didn't choose them. I had to. I was forced to make sure the license is up to date. Sounds like a value, and that's true. It's good that I am up to date and it's accurate. It has my driving information all in there. But I was forced to give that information up to this company, pay them for the administrative costs. I don't know how they're doing with the administrative costs. Could those administrative costs be less and more efficient? Run maybe by a private organization? I believe so. I'm a business owner. That's what we do. And that's why we remain competitive, because we have other competitors that will take our share of the the profits so they can so I can't buy what I'd like to buy in my life and my life to be the way I want it to be. So it naturally spurs me to be creative and put effort and be conscientious of what the value is I'm providing. That beautiful dynamic that helps all of us, all the consumers that want these products and services. And that's what you're not getting with the force that started all from that force of the state forcing me to do something that I didn't voluntarily do. And it goes on, that illusion, every day.
Thank you, Sage. Larry, where's the force?
Wow, where's the force? The force is in each individual who have began to become a searcher, looking for an alternative to the kind of political system that is destroying people. Where's the force? The force is in each individual who have made a commitment to help change one by one society. And the individual that sees the force within them to help create a new world, that's where the force is. The force is in each individual, like a nucleus, which starts small.
Can you relate that to the topic, Larry, of driving?
Oh, yeah, to the topic of driving.
Yes.
Oh, is that okay? Well, the topic of driving is that they have laws in the anti-civilization
Right.
that allow and keep you from doing what you want. They use your money in society to create regulations and laws that limit you from being the person you was meant to be. For example, if you get a ticket, they use your tax dollars to give you a ticket, and that ticket can either turn into summon through force and have you locked up, which meaning your livelihood could be in jeopardy, that you won't be able to support your family. You understand? And that force that they use to actually limit people, it's almost like a vicious cycle. They use your money to suppress you.
Crazy.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, Harry, where's the force?
Well, I still want to listen to Larry. He's getting me so involved. Okay, this is a very sore subject with me. Driving. I can tell you this. What annoys me very much is the speed limit signs. Okay, now obviously if you're a good citizen and you're moral, you follow the speed limit signs. But why the hell, if you go on 95, I live in New Jersey, going down on the turnpike on 95, and the speed limit is 80. It's a two-lane highway. There's no cars whatsoever. You go 85, 90. Obviously, hopefully you're careful. But then there's a cop hiding somewhere, and then you slow down. So it bothers the hell out of me that this is like psychological.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of force you in your mind to look in your rear view mirror and your side view mirror to see where they are.
Right.
And in a way, that's frightening. And that's maybe they're not doing it on purpose and you're doing it to yourself, but in a way it is kind of initiatory force. I mean, if the speed limit is 80 and there's nobody around on the road, no cars, why not go 85, 90?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's common sense. I mean, but the signs are there to, to force you to obey, which I don't like.
Thank you, Harry. Basically, my take on this is all the laws and all the rules and all the everything you have to go through, and the fact that the government considers driving a privilege that they can take away whenever they want to, and they can make up whatever reason they want to take away. All they have to do is pass a new law, and suddenly, something you've been doing all your life you can't do anymore, and then they can take away your privilege to drive. Also, all these traffic laws and everything kind of takes away people's self-responsibility.
Yes, right.
Good
Because
point.
if you follow all these laws and rules and then you still do something stupid and get into an accident and cause property damage and harm to other people, you're no longer responsible. And also, we've talked about insurance before, and auto insurance, especially the way it's set up in New Jersey, what they call no-fault insurance, takes responsibility away from people's actions. So if you cause a big accident, a lot of people are hurt, and their vehicles are damaged and everything, suddenly you're not responsible. You can, and people drive, oh, I've got insurance, I can do whatever I want, because the insurance will pay for it if something happens. If everybody was responsible for paying for the damage they cause, they'd be a lot more careful on the road. And that's my take on initiatory force as far as it pertains to driving. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next segment, creating the 12 Visions world, and we're going to continue reading the 12 Visions Party national platform. I'll go ahead and start, and then we probably won't get very far because we used up a lot of time with great discussion, and I really appreciate everyone's discussion. But I'm going to go ahead and read the next short section, and we've been reading a couple sections at a time. Now I think we should just read each short section, discuss it briefly, and move on. So I'm going to read the next one. It says, Universal Wealth, the Great Technological Revolution. The huge bonanza that Hamilton America enjoys that early America did not enjoy is high technology. Unregulated, rapidly advancing high technology drives costs to fractions and multiplies buying power, making consumers wealthier and wealthier. Let us look at one industry that rose so quickly that the government did not know how to entangle it in regulations and legislation. The personal computer industry of the late 20th century and early 21st century. Specifically, within that industry, consumers' buying power multiplied 1,000-fold. In other words, computer consumers became computer rich. Indeed, computer consumers could purchase computer power that only multimillionaires could buy just a few years earlier. Now, in this era of high technology, imagine that wealth phenomenon spreading throughout all industries. A natural millionaire phenomenon today once government gets out of the way. America's mainstream media, however, continues to play the blame game and promote the out-of-context lie that lack of government regulation caused the 2008 financial collapse. Hamilton America, on the other hand, just winks and smiles as the brightest creators and most ambitious workers emigrate from America to Hamilton America. As the wealth in America evaporates, the wealth in Hamilton America explodes. All the people become rich in the ensuing great technological revolution that drives prices down to fractions, as seen in the computer revolution, the forerunner. The people's buying power quickly multiplies 100-fold or more. Yeah, this is the future I want. This is what I see. I want to be one of those people coming up with those ideas and pushing technology forward. I want to be part of that. I also want to be part of getting, things like iPads and iPhones and the latest smartphones, the latest computer technology for less and less money until I can get whatever I want and still live my life the way I want to live.
Whew, yeah. Who's going to argue against that? I just think that whatever you want, you're a human being. You have your own desires, and you want to purchase different things in your life, and you want to do different things. This is it on a silver platter. It's opening the doors. It's identifying really what allows more values and products to enter the market, and just supporting that to crank the nozzle on it and let it all overflow, which just means values, choices, things for you. And I'm just, sign me up.
Yeah, not only that, not even supporting it or cranking it or any of that, just getting out of the way and letting it happen.
Exactly. It does it on its own.
Yes.
Once you do that, get the government out of the way, take a hike. you know, and then naturally this stuff overflows. It's just being held back or resisted from, you know, the initiatory force that we have.
I mean,
Running
the
around
illusion is that all those regulations and things are there to protect us
Yes.
from people who want to harm us by creating, you know, dangerous and faulty products. But the reality is, people don't want to create dangerous and faulty products. People that you only do that if you're gonna, you know, you're a charlatan who's gonna come into an area, sell a bunch of, you know, dangerous and faulty stuff, and then disappear. But in the modern world, you can't do that because everything is worldwide. You know, you can't hide. You can't go somewhere else and then sell more faulty products because what happened in that first place is going to follow you. It can't happen anymore. And, you know, in the 12 Visions world, we're all going to be neo-thinkers. We're all going to see reality. We're not going to buy the hype. We're not going to be deluded by the illusion. And we're going to know when people are making bad stuff, and we're not going to do business with them.
I mean, you know, because of the whole technology, once it's not regulated, once they're free to soar, you're going to see technology that comes to the market. Any bad technology won't be able to stay in business because everything is worldwide now. You have the internet. You know, you can't be in business with a bad product, you know, because it's like, you know, the number one thing is word of mouth. You know, if something's good, somebody's going to tell somebody else, and somebody else going to tell somebody else. But my thing is, once these regulations are done away with, and these legislations that is hampering and holding society back, could you imagine the technology that's highly integrated with flying, where it preserves life at all costs and take man out of the picture? Where
Larry,
man
I'm
to
sorry.
be taken out of the picture, where technology preserves human life at all costs. That technology is coming down the pike.
Mhm.
Yes, in the Miss Annabelle story, Mark Hamilton suggests such things as jewelry that has personal airbags that automatically deploy if you fall down to cushion your fall and prevent injury.
Mhm.
Even something as simple as that, and that can be developed, because look at the development of airbag technology in cars over the past 15, 20 years. You know, it used to be something, you know, that you only saw in luxury cars, and now just about every car you buy on the road has airbags in it.
Yeah, and what about the technology that's gonna not let a plane fly into a mountain? You know, that's gonna become something unheard of. You understand? Where technology will not allow that. If human error is the cause of that, then technology will step in, because technology is not going to be sick that day. Technology is not going to be not feeling good that day. Technology is going to be there to preserve human life once it's allowed to soar and race ahead and bring us those gifts that these geniuses of society have been held back from bringing us.
Yeah, Larry, just imagine it, guys. I get into my electric car. I hit the computer to take me to New York. I'm in New Jersey. All right, and it's doing all the work for me. And there I can eat my banana split all by myself while I'm driving. Can you imagine that?
Yes, and you know what? When through integrated thinking, and that's a good point, Harry, but through integrated thinking, think about how integrated the lines on the road become integrated with the cars, where they can't run into each other. And
That's
they
right.
can't crash while you having your banana.
Yeah.
That's good.
And it'll be taking you there because of maybe take you there at 100 miles an hour.
And that,
Or read a book while the car's driving itself.
Exactly, because it becomes integrated with the roadway.
yeah,
Mhm.
Cool.
cool world.
I mean, all of this, anything we can imagine can become reality. Anything, you know, eventually can become reality. I mean, I want to live in a world where I can take a vacation on the moon or Mars,
Yeah.
or, you know, or go up to a hotel in orbit and look at the Earth from orbit. That's the kind of world I want to live in. And it's possible. But right now, all this regulation and laws and everything is preventing that from happening. And that makes me mad.
But you know, the thing is this here, which is the technology being held back. Could you imagine getting up in the morning, getting into a plane that could be anywhere in the world within an hour?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yep.
Imagine that. Oh.
Anywhere in the world you want to be in an hour.
Imagine. Yep.
Like, think about it, but think about it like this: to go maybe to Pennsylvania, to upstate New York by a wagon train probably took you months. Right now, you can go from coast to coast in what, 3.5 hours now?
Yeah, it's 3.5 hours.
3 hours, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's not far-fetched to say that you can go up in a plane and be somewhere else, any part of the world within an hour, anywhere in the world within 1 hour, the furthest distance of that. And you know that technology's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite science fiction authors is Robert A. Heinlein. And in a lot of his later stories, he describes what are called, basically they're rocket planes. And concepts already on the drawing board. They're called aerospace planes. And these planes basically just fly above most of the atmosphere. And therefore they can go very fast. Hundreds of miles an hour, 2,000 miles an hour. And they're just like I hate to use the metaphor, but they're just like an artillery shell that's shot and goes over the horizon and lands somewhere else. I mean, they had big artillery guns in World War II that could shoot 150 miles, could shoot over the horizon, shoot, artillery shells over the horizon. But here we can have a vehicle that takes off like a plane, shoots up into above the atmosphere, and then comes back down and lands like a plane, just like flying from here to Washington D.C. or Florida, but you go to Sydney, Australia in an hour or an hour and a half.
You know, and the thing is, I've always thought about how once you understand really how gravity works, and you get into a plane with the technology that allow you to fly right below outer space, but stay within the Earth gravitational pull. Use that gravitational pull to go anywhere you want, to be anywhere you want within. Now, I mean, as a kid, and you talk about becoming the person you was meant to be, and I think about as a kid, I always loved ideas around airplanes, and how you can, you think about how when you look every morning and you look at all these different highways and where we are moving, everything is moving fast.
Yeah.
Information, people.
Yep.
We've designed the vehicles that those first Ford vehicles was very slow. Now these vehicles are they're very fast. And not only the information, but the people and the information is going to even get faster.
It's getting faster. And it can be faster. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, we already have luxury cars that can park themselves, that apply the brakes automatically if you're going to collide with something. We already have those things, and slowly those are going to develop in this world, where maybe our children will have cars that drive themselves and rarely get into accidents, unless there's some kind of breakdown in the actual mechanical or computer part of it. But if we create the 12 Visions world, we'll have that stuff. We won't have to, think, okay, maybe our children will have those technologies. And I want to thank everyone. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. This has been a great show. It flew by, which I think is wonderful. And so I want to thank you, Sage.
Thank you, Bill. Every time. I appreciate it.
And I want to thank you, Larry, for coming on. We really enjoy your company.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Greatly value your insights and perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get on here, and I really appreciate the chance to get here. So.
And I want to thank you, and I want to thank you, Harry Dolgen, for coming on, and and sharing your insight as a new person in the Neothink Society. Well, not brand spanking new, but compared to the rest of us, you know, you're still a kid.
Thank you. I want to thank you
Yep.
for allowing me to dangle my participles and modifying my verbs whenever I can.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap up, and I want to tell everyone if you like what we're talking about, you think this is a wonderful idea, which I do, and I'm sure, and I know all the other panelists here think this is a wonderful idea. There are many ways you can get involved. The 12 Visions movement is growing across the country and around the world. I mean, and we're just look on the internet and find the 12 Visions Party organization in your state and contact them and tell them what you would like to do. And they'll be happy to hear from you, happy that you want to get involved. You can get involved by participating, by helping. You can donate money if you have money and you want to donate it. You can do all these things.
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
Can I just do a plug for a product?
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah. If Sage could just help out a little bit real quick. Those who want to hear about the Miss Annabelle story or want to read it and get a feel for that, maybe if you was to send a request to Ines,
Yes.
integration.
Yeah, great point, Larry. If they want to read that whole and have that whole book of Miss Annabelle's story, you can email info@inintegrations.com. That's info at inintegrations.com, and we'll get you a copy of the book.
And one sure way of getting in touch with the 12 Visions Party organization in your state or your country is to go to the website tvpnc.org, and they have a link called Get Involved, and there you can give them your contact information, and then someone in your state or your country will contact you. Also wanted to say that if you like this show and what we're doing with this show, you can help us. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/creatinganewworld and pledge $1 or $2 per episode, and it will greatly help us in creating this show for you and continuing to share the ideas and continuing to talk about the 12 Visions world. And I want once again thank all our panel members, and thank you for watching this show.
How could you see the show, Bill? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Thank you very much,
Harry.
Harry. Thank you for reminding me. If this show is being cataloged on a blog called tocreateanewworld.blogspot.com, and you can go there and watch all the past episodes, and also all future episodes will be included on there as we record them and they become available. Thank you, Harry. I appreciate that. And I want to wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and prosperity. Thank you again.
Bye, guys.